Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to Unity of Charlotte. We're so happy to see everyone here. My name is Reverend Lisa Herklotz. I am co-minister here with Reverend. And we're happy to have you join us here there on the Zoom. And if you happen to be watching us off of our YouTube channel, we're glad you tuned in. We'd like to start off by reading our mission statement together, so please join me in our mission. Unity of Charlotte is the place where we nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. Simply put, we are here to love, grow, and serve. Do we have anyone here for the first time? Welcome. Give you a nice welcoming round. It's nice to have you here. Welcome to Unity. Hopefully our ushers will, if they have not, they'll give you a visitor's packet. It has some information in it.
I am visiting from Florida. I will be going back on Tuesday.
Okay. Well, we're happy you stopped in, and we have Florida in our prayers.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have Florida in our prayers. Anyone that might be new, if you're new online, there's many ways to reach out to Unity of Charlotte and find out what's going on. We have a website. We have a newsletter you can sign up for off of our website. We have a Facebook page, which we'd love to have you check and like. We also have our YouTube channel where you can go back and watch any Sunday services that were in the past. And for those who are here, if you will check that bulletin board on your way out, because we're always adding things there that we don't have the opportunity to announce in the Sunday service. So let's take a deep breath in now, as we move into prayer. I invite you now to take all this great news and just release it, knowing what you need to know will come back. And we take this moment to turn within. We move from our heads to our hearts, where we center our focus and attention in prayer, opening up space to allow for the presence of God, of Spirit, of our divine heart, to be present in our consciousness. There are so many challenges being faced, perhaps personal ones in your lives. Certainly, there are challenges being faced outside in the world in so many ways. And never has there been a greater need to call forth that presence which centers us, strengthens us, and guides us through wisdom beyond this worldly information, to know what is ours to do, to be of service to others, to be of service to ourselves. We hold all of those in the state so impacted by the last two hurricanes. We uplift them in prayer and seeing all the support and help needed being provided at exactly the right time. We hold and uplift our own Unity of Charlotte community as it faces its own challenges in rebuilding, restarting in a new location. That there be a true sense of community and connection that bypasses any misunderstandings and allows us to become, in fact, the very mission that we claim is ours to do. We uplift and hold our country in prayer as we move through this election season, seeing the power of the people moved by their hearts and leaders who become more heart-centered, so that we may begin to see the action of Spirit flowing and expressing in every level of community. We are grateful for knowing that this presence is always available, and acting in our lives right now as we say thank you, and so it is. Please join me in reciting the unity prayer of oneness. There is one presence and one power in my life and the universe, God the good, omnipotence. We claim and affirm this presence in our lives as love. Now I'd like to offer a moment of quiet in which you may speak aloud the name of a person you would like to lift in prayer, the name of a situation, or silently to yourself, whatever is most comfortable, as we hold sacred space. Please speak aloud now. All the states, our world leaders, our country and our church, our spiritual community. We claim the power and presence of Spirit working in and through each one of these people and situations, holding in faith that God is good and always present. And so it is. Please know that we have a prayer box right outside the door. If you would like to write down prayers, these prayers go to our prayer team, where they are prayed over and held in strict confidence for 2 weeks, and they're then sent off to Silent Unity, where they continue to be prayed over for 30 days. At Unity, we believe in the power of prayer. So if there's anything that's weighing on your heart or is feeling like a burden, we invite you to write that down, put it in the prayer box, and you'll be amazed at how Spirit can uplift you through that. I'd now like to invite Kathy up to read our daily word.
Morning is belong. As spiritual beings, we all belong in the heart of God. Thank you. A true sense of belonging is one of the best feelings in the world. It's knowing I am at home, it's fully accepted just as I am, and I'm valued for all my unique contributions. Today I celebrate my belonging as a divine being, a child of God. No matter my station in life, my personal history, or my particular circumstances, I am a valued member of the human family. I extend this understanding to all others. I look beyond appearances and even my own preconceived notions to see my fellow divine beings. I honor their unique gifts just as I would want them to honor mine. We belong together. We belong to one another. We all belong in the family of God. And from John 17, verse 20 and 21, I ask not only on behalf of these, but also on behalf of those who will believe in me through their word, that they may all be one.
We have 2 very important members who are going to be leaving us as they move to different parts of the country. And while we are very sad to be seeing them go, we are also so grateful and thankful for all the time and energy they have put into this community and how they have been a pivotal presence in Unity of Charlotte long before I came. So I just want to say personally, from myself and Rev Jim, we've gotten to know them over the last 2 years, as long as we have been here. And I can only say that I don't know how we would have done this without the 2 of you and your presence, your centeredness, your prayerful guidance and inspiration. You have been a strong support not only to the community, but to Reverend Jim and myself, and we will miss you with all our heart. I'm going to invite Alan up, and Alan's going to share some things about Barbara because he knows her longer and better than I do. And then Lawrence will come up and share about Pat. So I don't know what's coming. These men know you well. I'm going to let them take that over.
So one Sunday afternoon, God was rummaging around the kitchen in heaven. He said, let me make something new up. I'll call it Earthbound Humanity. And Earthbound Humanity had many ingredients in it. But God said, I really need to put in more than a pinch of compassion. So I routed around the heavenly spice cabinet and brought out this container of compassion. His name was Barbara Rolfe. Said we also need to have a smidgen of love in there. So I rummaged around some more. Oh, I found another container of Barbara Rolfe. Oh boy, put that in there. Of course, God said, it's a perfect mixture. But how is it going to be baked? So he rummaged around in his cookbook and found a page that said, Barbara Rolfe. I can personally attest that she is the most compassionate, most loving, most
Well-baked. Yeah.
and well-fed. And I shall miss her and her presence and her yappy little dog. But I will go forward knowing that I am a better person for having met her.
Yes.
And so are we all.
Well, you know, you just heard the preacher in Alan Batten. He often blessed us with his sermons through the years. And as you know, Alan has lovingly produced our services for 15 to 20 years, and he doesn't miss a Sunday. He doesn't miss one. So I couldn't possibly stand up here after him and not salute his service. It has been divine, Alan, divine. As to my friend Pat, Pat Dre and I met at a Science of Mind ministry probably around 2010. And she came in already ordained as a Science of Mind minister. And I just loved the way she talked. What I mean is, she always had lofty, high thoughts to share with everybody. I cannot remember any day when I have not considered her one of the best friends I ever met. We have always been on the same page. Spirit has always led me through her. I shall never forget the way we collaborated and worked together. Beginning around 2018, the latter part, so we're talking about 6 years practically, when our congregation began to experience a number of unsettling years. And I can tell you that Reverend Pat and Barbara worked together with a team spirit, and we were able to help our board and our congregation through those unsettling years. I know that the lofty prayers that Reverend Pat shared with us, I know that my metaphysical sister, Barbara, had wonderful, healing, transforming pronouncements that she lovingly shared with us, both in private and together. I know that God worked through us, and I know that He continues to work through us. They may depart us in terms of miles, but my heart will always be filled with wonderful memories, shared moments, because we just work together so well. I want to add that Alan was a wonderful part of that sharing and of the service that we have given, heartfelt service. This Unity of Charlotte community is wonderful. Because of them, it is strong. Because of them, it endures. Because of them. And I know God was present and is present through them.
Pat, if you want to stand there by Barbara. Well, sorry, could you all stand one more time and let's give them a unity blessing. Barbara and Pat, we love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. We behold the divine in you. So it is. Please join us in fellowship after Ron's introduction, or if you want to go after the song. We have cake and we have cards to sign, so please take a moment to sign a card for both Pat and Barbara after the service. Thank you. And now we are going to hear from Rev Jim.
Yes, I am Reverend Jim. My name is Reverend Jim Ernstsen. Some mornings that's a challenge. I want you to notice how I'm dressed. You see what that's? Can the back row see what that says? It says, Mabel, can you read that? It says, be kind. It says, be kind. And I love this t-shirt because it makes me feel like a rock star. And I'll tell you why. I can wear this t-shirt around town and people come up to me and give me a hug for no good reason. It's just like, I love this, and they give me a big hug. I've even had people come up and do selfies with me. Now what's funny about the selfie is that they cut off my head. They don't want to see me. It's like they want to see the t-shirt, right? So I take a little offense to that, and I bless them on their way. But this t-shirt makes me feel like a rock star, and it does. It ties into my talk here today. So stick with me as we get to that piece today. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Matthew 5:9. That's where this comes from. This is the Sermon on the Mount. This is part of the Beatitudes of the New Testament. And for those of you who need a refresher, the Beatitudes, the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes are those 8 statements that Jesus gave in terms of, if this, then you will be blessed. Blessed are the, right? Blessed are the. Those are the Beatitudes. So we're going to look at one of those Beatitudes today. Because when we read, for they will be called children of God, it's not necessarily obvious what that means. not necessarily obvious what that means. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. We do know that these Beatitudes are a two-part thing. It is setting up the cause, and blessed are the fill in the blank, for they will fill in the blank. It's a cause and effect. It's a cause and effect, also known as karma, if you want to think of it as karma as well. But this is karma within the New Testament. Here's an example. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Cause and effect. If you're merciful, you're going to receive mercy. You see how that works? Cause and effect. Here's another one. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Those that mourn shall be comforted. So, that cause and effect is built into these Beatitudes. And in New Testament terms, we like to think of them as that action that we take, that thing, that cause, that the action, and then that resulting blessing. The resulting blessing that Jesus talked about. If this, you are blessed with that. So you see how that works. It is a resulting blessing in that. So the action part of this, blessed are the peacemakers. In other words, you being a peacemaker, if you are a peacemaker, which in our mind, and when I looked it up and I did the research a few days ago, peacemaker included reconciliation, resolution, diplomacy. It was a general bringing together of people, right? Peacemaker. You're bringing together people. So what is the resulting blessing of that? What does it mean when Jesus said, they will be the children of God? What does that mean? Well, Bible scholars, non-unity folks might say that, well, there's harmony in this. There's accord in this. That is what we're talking about. There is unity in this children of God statement. Metaphysically, when we talk about children of God, it might be that idea of, because Jesus talked about being a child, returning to that state of childhood for us even as adults. When we talk about that children of God, it's being childlike. It's being pure. It's being simple. It's simplifying our lives. Think of how simple your life was as a kid, right? I mean, I couldn't wait to just run outside, jump on my bike and ride. That was happiness in my life. Children of God. That also means being in alignment with divine truth. Children of God, in terms of metaphysically, in terms of what we think of in the unity movement, being in alignment with that divine truth that we know in our hearts. That's part of that statement as well. And within unity, we would say that it is to know the Christ where? Within. It is to know. So that childlike state is to know the divine within ourselves and within our hearts. It's that place where we can relax into the truth of our own being. Relax. That's what being a child. Children don't worry about who they are until we breed it out of them. I don't know. But they don't worry about it. They relax into their own being. They are who they are. And that's what we want. We want to be in the truth of our own being. That's what children of God means, at least to me. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. This verse highlights the virtue of peacemaking and then the divine blessing that comes with it as well. The verse emphasizes that peace is not just the ideal that we might talk about, but a direct connection to that God principle that we define. We defined that God principle when we talked about our first unity principle today. That omnipotence, that all goodness. And that's us as well. Peacemakers strive to create that peace and reconcile people and things at all odds with themselves. So in my talk title, and if you read our newsletter, you'll see that I mentioned juggling. Juggling the idea of forgiveness and peacemaking. So how do we reconcile, maybe not reconcile, but how do we work with those two concepts at the same time? Juggling forgiveness and peacemaking. Well, we know, and we've taught for weeks previously, Reverend Lisa gave a great talk last week where she defined that forgiveness is that act of releasing negative feelings towards someone that you believed wronged you, right? It's always from our standpoint. So the forgiveness is that reconciliation that we're talking about. Peacemaking, on the other hand, involves actively working to resolve disputes and bring about peace between individuals and groups. Not too different. If we think of our Zen, or not Zen, here I am thinking of Buddhism, our Venn diagram of forgiveness and peacemaking, there's a lot of commonality that overlap in that Venn diagram. When we act on this, they have the same goal. These two things that we're talking about, forgiveness and peacemaking, they have the same goal, but they might have different time frames around them. That's what we're talking about. Forgiveness, something happened in the past that continues to affect us, and we got to deal with it, right? And that's what we've been talking about, and that's what we're going to talk about in that workshop as well. It's continuing to affect us. How do we let go of it? How do we forgive? How do we come back to that truth that we know in our heart? Peacemaking, on the other hand, is we're resolving an issue in the current moment, for the most part. Peacemaking. You're separating two children on a playground. That is peacemaking in the here and now. In both cases, the focus is on restoring relationships, and that's what we want to do. And it's fostering a sense of unity. Time frame is just what we're talking about. So how do we get to the place where we need to practice? How did we get to that place where we need to practice these things, either forgiveness or peacemaking? Well, unfortunately, sometimes, and this isn't 100%, but we got to that place sometimes because there was a trust that may have been broken. At least we feel that. There was a trust. Something happened. They said something. We did something. There was a trust that was broken, and we felt betrayed because of that. A friend didn't treat me the way I believe I should be treated. I feel a little bit betrayed in that. Can you imagine that? I mean, it's probably happened to all of us, right? We've been to that space where it's like, wow, why did they say that? That's the trust and that's the betrayal that we're talking about. Carrie Nieuwhof is a Christian minister and a consultant with church leaders out there. I don't know if anyone else, he aims most of his podcasts and videos and teachings on church leadership. So he talks to ministers, he talks to boards, he talks to other leaders, he talks to elders. And that's what Lawrence was talking about today, the leadership of a church. And I want to make sure that everyone understands the leadership of a church is not just the ministers, it is the board. Lawrence talked about the collaboration that he experienced on the board. It's also the elders of the church as well. Because here at Unity of Charlotte, we practice a mission-centric approach to leadership. They demonstrated that. We were hired. We joined this team almost 2 years ago. This is not all about Reverend Lisa. This is not the Reverend Lisa and Jim show. This is a collaboration of leaders that help grow and lead this church into thriving. That's where we're at. And that's what we're celebrating today. Barbara and Pat were both tremendous leaders within this church. But Carrie Newhoff, who focuses on church leaders as well, he creates a podcast that anyone can listen to. It's out there on YouTube. Carrie Newhoff, and I can spell out his last name for you later on. But he talks about trust. He talks about betrayal. He talks about, because the leaders of the church sometimes feel that as well, a broken trust, a betrayal of whatever. So he focuses on that to mend and heal churches and leadership as well. So he talks about peacekeeping and forgiveness. He talks about healthy churches, and he talks about unhealthy churches and how to bring them back into the fold of health as well. So he is a guide to church leaders. He recently interviewed an author who wrote a book, and I love the title of this book. I want to trust you, but I don't. That's the title of the book. I want to trust you. You know, my Christian heart's in the right place. But what you show, I'm having a hard time. Right? That's the title of her book. Lisa, L-Y-S-A is her first name, Lisa TerKeurst. Whew, that's the last name. Lisa TerKeurst. She is a New York Times bestselling author. She works with churches. She tells her personal story in this book of a personal broken trust and a betrayal, and how she dealt with it, how she recognized it, how she moved through it. And maybe this happened a few years ago. Maybe she's still moving through that as well. The podcast also discussed the red flags. So she did her research. She discussed the red flags and the behavior of someone who you can't trust. And we have to admit that there are some folks out there who we can't trust. We're not going to sugarcoat this. There are folks out there that we have to look and be honest with. So if you've got an hour, she went through, I don't know how many, 8, 9, 10, 11 red flags. They didn't talk about all of them, but the red flags of somebody that you might want to look at a second time, it's like, whoa, can I trust you here? Anyway, she outlined those red flags. If you've got an extra hour, it's well worth your time. Again, Carrie Newhoff, it's a podcast on YouTube. It only went out there about 5 days ago, so it should be easy to find. One of the things that, changing the subject just a little bit, one of the things that churches can do as well in terms of this forgiveness, peacekeeping theme that we're talking about today, this, my t-shirt, Be Kind theme that we're talking about here today, is how churches can be healthy and loving and compassionate. That's what we want, right? Isn't that a worthy goal? Healthy and loving and compassionate, kind even as well. This is how, and one of the ways that we do that is through an open door idea. And I'm going to talk about open doors in terms of a church, maybe a little bit different than you're used to hearing. Open doors, and this comes in 3 parts here. So for most churches that you know, they always tell you, Our doors are wide open. We want a diversity of folks to come in. We will love you. We will greet you. We are happy that you're here, right? They invite you to come in and feel welcome. This is your home. That's an obvious open door that many, many, many churches use. Come on in. Everyone's welcome. And it's something that we want to practice as well. We want to, what's the word I'm searching for? Our greeters are welcoming new people into the church. So it's a familiar theme for us. But there's also a second open door piece to a healthy church. Again, this is Carrie Newhoff. This is research from other folks as well. The second piece of open doors is not as obvious. It's the other direction. It's an open door to allow people to leave when they need to leave. And hear me here. This, again, we're sad when people leave. We might want to talk to them. But it is a sign of health that that door goes that direction, both directions as well. People come to church for different reasons. The reason you came to church is different from the reason you came to church, I would think. And people stay for different times in a church. People might come for a day. They may come, check us out. You're not my cup of tea. And they won't come back. We have to be okay with that. People come for an event in their life. Maybe this event is a death in the family. Maybe this event is a trauma within their life. They need support and they need healing. They come to classes, they hear messages on a Sunday, they enjoy fellowship. They might be here for 6 months. They might be here for a year or two. They feel healed, and then they move on. We have to be okay with that. And then there's folks who come for a lifetime, and we celebrate that as well. A day, an event, a lifetime. We greet everyone with open arms, and when it's time for them to go, when the church no longer serves their needs, and that's up to them to decide, it's not up to us to decide when someone should come or go, because we will never, ever say, you have to go. But when they decide it's time to go, we bless them. We're so glad you were here. All the time that you gave, maybe you even served on committees. We're so blessed by what you've done here as well. We release you and we bless you on your way. That's the healthy thing. That's the way a church should work. That's the way a spiritual community should treat its people, where there is love, where there is beauty, where we celebrate the individual, where there is no struggle. Where there is no struggle. The third part, so those were two, the coming and the going. The third part, again, maybe not so obvious, but Carrie Newhoff has talked about this idea as well as this third type of open door for a healthy church is the open door to be able to talk to each other. The open door to communicate with each other. If something's going on, talk about it. We don't pretend that everything is hunky-dory all the time. If you've heard something, approach the person. Talk to them. Now, we're not talking about gossip because we don't want that. We don't want to talk about somebody behind their back, right? We don't want triangulation. And just really quickly, triangulation is talking about another person to a third. Did you see what they did? Why would they do that? No, if it shows up on your radar, whoop, I'm going to go talk to this person. What's going on? Can I help you? What did you mean when you said that? We want to be able to talk to each other. That's the healthy church. That's where we want to be. And we don't want to keep secrets. We don't want to keep secrets. So, I'm going to tell you something, but don't tell anybody else. Does that sound healthy? That may not be where we want to go. If you have a question, ask. If you have a question with each other, if you have a question about the church in general, speak to one of these leaders. We introduced the board last week. Speak to a board member. Hey, I heard something's going on. They will share with you the truth of what's going on. If someone has said, hey, the ministers did something, come talk to me, come talk to Reverend Lisa, and we'll give you the honest truth. Wow, maybe I shouldn't have fill in the blank. I will take responsibility for that, but here's the truth of what I know. That's healthy. That's where we want to be. That's where we grow and thrive this church. If you have a question, ask. Don't make assumptions, and don't take it personally. You see how I snuck in those 4 agreements? Yeah. That's another talk. But don't take it personally. Don't make assumptions. I want you guys to know, well, that's kind of familiar, you guys. I want you to know. And I don't want to use the word, I'm searching for a word, and I am not exactly sure. Tribe is probably too political at this point, because it has a different word. You guys are my family. You're my circle. Spiritual family maybe fits well in what I'm feeling right now. You're it. You're who I want to hang out with. Me and my t-shirt. I want to hang out with you guys. That's what feels right. I want to be open, healthy, loving, and compassionate. And I hope it goes both ways. Let's move into a meditation. I want you to wiggle around. I want you to find a comfortable spot. Take a deep breath. Either close your eyes, or you can focus on that candle that you see on the screen. Whatever works for you. Allow that music in the background of your thoughts. Even the words that I speak can move into the background of your mind. As you let go of thoughts and move into the heart space of feeling. Feeling that kindness, feeling that compassion, feeling that love. And we want to remind ourselves that this is our natural state. This is who we came to this earth to be, is kind, loving, and compassionate. compassionate. We speak to each other the truth. Within our hearts, we know that we can always come to that place of anticipation, that anticipation where there was always an expectation of goodness within our lives. We are that goodness. We share that kindness. I know that my reality is spiritual. I base my life, I revolve around those qualities. I live in this physical world, but I am a spiritual being. As we spend the next moment or two, the next minute in silence. As we begin to come out of this quiet time, we take that with us, that peace that we might feel, that kindness from a stranger. We take it with us into the world, into our day. We share it with those throughout the week. Know that it is so. Namaste.
Thank you, Reverend Jim. Peacemaking and forgiveness. We're going to be doing the end of our service just a little different, so let me just give you a heads up. Because we're doing, at the end of the service, we're going to invite Ron Rupp up to do his introduction. We're going to keep the Zoom on, so that anyone on Zoom, if you want to stay for that, please stay online and you'll be able to watch his introduction. So when we do the peace song, I'm going to ask you to stand in place, so that if you want to stay, you can sit down, and if you're ready to go to the fellowship hall, you can leave at that point. But now we're going to move into, this is one, we talk about a thriving and abundant ministry. Well, this is one of the ways that a thriving, healthy congregation expresses itself. And we're going to move into the offering part of our service, because we know that as we give, so do we receive, so much as was expressed in the Beatitudes. And this is an opportunity to take your offering, hold it in your hand as we say the prosperity blessing together. Joyously, I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. We are light, love, power, and presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.